So Joe Biden takes office on January 20th, and he and his incoming team have made it clear that they really view themselves as heading into the White House in the middle of four roiling, unprecedented crises all happening at once, and that they have a lot of stuff that they want to get put into place right away to deal with them. I'm Scott Detrow.
I'm Ayesha Rascoe. And in the first 100 days, the Biden administration has said they're going to zone in on four key issues: the pandemic, the economy, racial justice, and climate change. So we're going to dive into those issues now.
My first 100 days won't end the COVID-19 virus. I can't promise that. But I'm absolutely convinced that in 100 days, we can change the course of the disease and change life in America for the better.
That's the issue that has dominated this entire year, that has reshaped the entire world. And a lot of what he wants to do comes down to just having the federal government play a more aggressive role in coordinating and funding testing, vaccine distribution, and making sure people are safe with personal protective equipment. Biden has made a few big promises. He's talked a lot about trying to get more people to wear masks. He can order this on federal property. He says he can order it on, interstate transportation, things like airplanes. But Biden's also just going to urge Americans to wear masks voluntarily. He said he's going to talk about that in his inaugural address, saying, let's wear masks for 100 more days and see if we can get through this. The vaccine is going to be a couple months into distribution at that point. He says that he wants to get 100 million vaccine doses out in his first 100 days in office. The last thing is Biden says he's going to work to get more money from the federal government out to places like school districts so that school districts can safely reopen and have in-person classes. That would require a lot of personal protective equipment, a lot of safety measures in place. He wants to get the federal government to foot the bill for that. And I think this gets into the next point, and that's the economic aid that Biden says is desperately needed across the country because this pandemic has slowed down the economy so much.
Exactly. So with the economy, you have this COVID relief package that is coming out. A deal was reached in Congress. They want more relief for unemployment. They want to help small businesses. So some of this is being addressed, but the problem is it's just a down payment. This is just what the incoming Biden administration is saying. That's just the beginning. They want to do so much more. But just getting to this point has been like pulling teeth. And so this is going to be a tall order. Part of what they want to do is they want to, long term, they're talking about rolling back the corporate tax cuts and changing these things to get more relief to middle income households. But that's not going to be easy to do. And even in the short term, trying to figure out how you're going to get more relief to businesses, how you're going to get more relief to all of these households that are struggling right now is going to be a huge challenge for any administration, but especially in this climate.
Things are going to be rocky, and Biden is really clear-eyed about the challenge that he's going to face. It's going to be worse than when he took office as vice president in 2009, which is just still hard to comprehend.
Yeah, and another thing that is getting worse is climate change.
We're in a crisis. Just like we need to be a unified nation in response to COVID-19, we need a unified national response to climate change.
Biden regularly pointed out during the campaign that this was a year with record wildfires in the West. This is a year where we had so many hurricanes on the East Coast that they ran out of alphabet names for them and had to go into the Greek alphabet. This is going to be something that they say will be a central organizing theme of their government, and that's something that you have not seen done before. And Biden has made it clear this is going to be a top issue. When it comes to the first 100 days, there aren't as many things here because a lot of these are going to be longer-term efforts, but right off the bat, on January 20th, he's saying Biden is going to make sure the United States re-enters the Paris Climate Agreement. That was the international accord put together in 2015 that had countries from around the globe commit to lowering their greenhouse gas emissions over the coming decades. President Trump pulled the U.S. out. Biden says the U.S. is going to go right back in. But more broadly, the actual goals, Biden has committed to a really ambitious goal of having the country's energy sector carbon neutral by 2035, the entire economy carbon neutral by 2050. That would require a massive, massive change in the way that the U.S. produces energy and consumes energy. And that's where Biden says, and you heard this again recently when he rolled out all of these cabinet positions that are going to focus on climate, Biden makes a point to say this is a jobs plan. This is something about creating new things, not getting rid of things. He's trying to really sell this politically in a way that that climate advocates have frankly had a hard time doing at points. Biden is talking about putting people to work, building new wind, building new solar, building charging stations across the country so that the country can quicker transition to electric vehicles. He's really trying to talk about this as a massive jobs program and not something that boils down to, hey, you're going to have to spend more money on gasoline and you're going to not be able to travel as much as you want. Let's talk about this fourth pillar, and this is something that, much like the pandemic, really came to dominate the conversation and the election for months at a time this year, and that is racial justice.
Say his name! George Floyd! Say his name! George Floyd!
It really burst to a point of national consciousness in a surprising way this summer with massive, unprecedented protests and rallies, and that's something that Biden and his vice president, Kamala Harris, really made a point to say they cared about a lot.
Yeah, and so, we've heard less about the racial justice piece. One thing that Biden has put forward is that he wants to have a national commission on policing. That is something that he can definitely stand up in the first 100 days. He says that he wants to bring everyone to the table, from police chiefs to civil rights groups, and to start dealing with some of these issues. Now, if you talk to some of these civil rights groups, if you talk to some of these activists, they say a commission is fine, but there was already a commission during the Obama administration that looked at policing. And so they don't want to have this be something that just kicks the issue down the road. But this is a promise that Biden made, and it's something that he can put together quickly, and he doesn't need Congress to do that. And I should also say that it's not just criminal justice reform. When you look at racial justice, you also are talking about economic issues. So, the Biden administration wants to do more as far when it comes to housing and things of that nature to promote home ownership for people of color. They also want to maybe reform opportunity zones, which are those tax breaks that you get for investing in certain poor neighborhoods. But there's a concern that those investments are really helping richer people and not helping the people in those communities. So those are some other things that they want to tackle, because a big part of this is the economic piece.
We have just outlined a whole lot of really big things. So we will be spending all of our time over the next year or so tracking these different efforts, seeing which ones are picking up steam, which ones are not really going anywhere. And we will be reporting on it on the NPR Politics podcast, on npr.org, and on your local public radio station. I'm Scott Detrow.
And I'm Ayesha Rascoe. Thanks for watching.